Ethan Blackwood was the CEO of one of the biggest companies in the city. To him, business was about making tough decisions and eliminating the weak. Sentimentality? Useless. Empathy? A sign of weakness. There was no place for inefficient employees in his company. That morning, his assistant Lauren walked into his office and placed a folder on his desk. "Mr. Blackwood, here's the final layoff list. You just need to sign off on it." Ethan glanced at the list without a second thought. Then his eyes landed on a name: Sophie Miller. Who was that? Lauren quickly explained. Sophie worked in customer service. She was late a few times last month. Management thinks she's not productive enough. Without hesitation, Ethan signed the papers. If she can't follow the rules, she has to go. He said, cold as ever. Lauren hesitated for a moment. "Mr. Blackwood, she's a single mother. She just had a baby. Losing this job would put her in a really difficult situation." Ethan looked up, his gaze sharp and unbothered. "That's not my problem. The rules are clear. If she can't show up on time, I'm not paying her." Lauren sighed and walked out of the room. Ethan felt nothing, not even a flicker of guilt. But soon, his world was about to change forever. Ethan Blackwood never second-guessed his decisions. But that night, he was about to learn a lesson he'd never forget. A chance meeting. After leaving work, Ethan got into his luxury car and headed to one of the city's most exclusive restaurants. Like every night, his dinner would be perfect. But as he pulled up in front of the restaurant, something caught his eye. A woman sat on the sidewalk, holding a baby in her arms. Her hair was messy, her face exhausted. But the most striking thing? The sheer desperation in her eyes. Ethan parked his car and tried to ignore her, but just as he was about to walk inside, her voice, shaky and tired, rang out. "Please, just a few dollars, for my son." Ethan froze. That voice. Slowly, he turned and looked at her face, and in that moment, it felt like a knife had been plunged into his chest. It was Sophie, the woman he had fired just weeks ago, and now she was sitting on the street, begging, her baby cradled in her arms. Ethan felt his breath catch. Was this his fault? For the first time in a long time, Ethan Blackwood felt something. Guilt, regret, number. He wasn't that kind of man, but here she was, a woman he had thrown away like she didn't matter, now struggling to survive. An internal battle. Ethan clenched his fists. Help her? Why? This wasn't his problem, right? But his feet wouldn't move. He told himself to just walk away, pretend he didn't see her. But as he turned toward the restaurant, he stole one last glance over his shoulder. Sophie was holding her baby close, tears forming in her eyes. And in that moment, something inside Ethan cracked. A sleepless night. That night, for the first time in years, Ethan couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Sophie's face. By morning, he stood in front of the mirror, and he hated the man looking back at him. That's when he made a decision. He had to find her. But there was one problem. He had destroyed her life, and now he had no idea if she would ever forgive him. For the first time, Ethan Blackwood decided to take responsibility. He couldn't just stand by while the woman he fired was left homeless. But finding Sophie wasn't going to be as easy as he thought. Searching for Sophie one morning, Ethan drove back to that part of the city, but Sophie wasn't there. For days, he searched for her. And finally, he found her, sitting on a street corner near an old coffee shop. Beside her, in a small cardboard box, her baby was sleeping. Ethan's throat tightened. He was a CEO earning millions, and here she was, living on the streets because of a decision he made, face to face with Sophie. Ethan took a slow step forward. Sophie looked up, her eyes narrowing. "Why are you here?" she asked, her voice cold. Ethan hesitated. "I want to help you." Sophie let out a bitter laugh. "Help me? The man who fired me and left me with nothing now wants to help? That's hilarious, Mr. Blackwood." Ethan took a deep breath. "I know, I made a mistake, but I want to fix it." Sophie crossed her arms. Could she really trust him? Sophie's eyes burned with anger. "Now you want to help? You didn't think twice when you took my job away." For the first time, Ethan truly felt guilty. He said he wanted to help, but why would Sophie believe him? Sophie's rejection. She picked up her baby and turned away. "I lost my job, my home, everything. There's nothing you can do to erase what I've been through." Ethan was speechless. If he were in her position, he wouldn't forgive himself either. But he knew one thing. If he wanted to fix this, words wouldn't be enough. Ethan's big decision. That night, for the first time, Ethan questioned how his company had been operating. He made a decision. He would start a support program for laid-off employees. He wouldn't just rehire Sophie. He'd offer her a better position. Most importantly, he would prove he was serious about making things right. If he wanted to earn Sophie's trust, he had to show her, not with words, but with action. For the first time, Ethan Blackwood wasn't doing something for himself. This time, it wasn't about winning in business. It was about changing someone's life. The big offer. The next day, Ethan found Sophie again. But this time, he wasn't just bringing an apology, he was bringing an opportunity. "I know I lost your trust," he said sincerely, "but I don't want to fix this with words. I want to prove it to you." Sophie frowned. "What do you mean?" Ethan explained the new company program, a support program for employees who had been laid off. Sophie wouldn't just get her job back, she'd be offered a promotion. He would also provide financial aid for childcare. Sophie blinked, shocked. "You're really doing this?" Ethan nodded. "This isn't just for you. People like me. We forget the struggles real workers go through, but my eyes are open now." The final decision. Sophie hesitated. Had this man really changed? Could she believe him? She looked down at her baby. She had to do what was best for him. Taking a deep breath, she held out her hand. "All right, Ethan, I'll give this a chance." Ethan smiled, and for the first time, he felt like more than just a CEO. Because true leadership isn't about power, it's about changing lives.
If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and share. Subscribe for more inspiring stories.